Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for June 25th through July 2nd. This week I read one book, I watched one show, I watched 3 movies, and I listened to 2 books. The book I read this week is The Royals Next Door. This one was a lot of fun for me because this one was actually set on Salt Spring Island, which is an island off the coast of my island. In this book, our protagonist is Piper. She's a school teacher. She's been living on the island for over 5 years now. She lives there with her mother, who she takes care of because she has some mental health issues, and then she has her own mental health issues, including anxiety and complex PTSD. One day, the island is all the buzz because apparently the Duke and Duchess of Fairfax are on the island for some reason, but she's kind of a hermit and doesn't really understand the whole gawking at celebrities thing, so she just tries to go home to get away from all the mess around town. On her way home, her car is stopped in the middle of the road just before she gets to her house by some random guy who basically tells her unless she can prove she lives here, she has to turn around and leave, and she's like, "Who are you? What gives you the authority to make me not go to my own house?" And it turns out that this sexy, grumpy man is the personal protection officer of the Duke and Duchess. From what I gather, these fictional characters are kind of based around Harry and Meghan if you're a person who actually follows the royals. I actually had to think of what their names are because I'm not. Where she lives with her mother is this very cozy cottage on this stretch of land that has a lot of really big houses, including this huge mansion that's next door. Their house actually used to be the servants' quarter for the mansion, but the property has since been bisected. And of course, because the Duke and Duchess are looking for a place to rent for about a year, I think you can guess where they ended up moving in. That means that that very grumpy but very attractive personal protection officer is just always around. Shenanigans and romance ensue. Also, the main character has her own podcast that she publishes anonymously called Romancing the Podcast, all about romance books, which I always love when there's a super bookish element to a book. It's just a thing I obviously love. This was a lot of fun and I highly recommend it. I also believe there's a companion novel coming out this fall that follows one of the other bodyguards, a Scottish lad named James, I think. I'm not entirely sure, I haven't actually really looked into it, but there were some pages at the back of the book that were like an excerpt from the next book, and the first person who had a point of view was named James, so I'm just going to assume. The one show I watched this week was RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars All Winners. I caught up on the previous week's episode, which was the Legendary Looks episode, and then I watched this week's episode while the week was still going on. Good job, me. Especially because yesterday was a busy day, but I managed to watch it first thing in the morning. That one was an acting challenge called Santa's School for Girls, and it was a mixture between a holiday movie and a horror movie. As always, these were a lot of fun. I really enjoy the people that don't get the parts they want, but then also play them for all they're worth. I really love that mentality so much. On to the movies I watched, the first one being one I mostly was just in the room for while it played, and I don't think I've ever seen it before, and if I have, it's been so long that I completely forgot about it. That one was Snatch. This one has a whole host of people that look very young now because you're used to seeing them look what they look like now. And this was a diamond heist mixed with an underground boxing ring and things that go badly there. To this movie's credit, I do really enjoy how things were very interwoven. However, overall, I'm just kind of like, I don't really see the point? It could be because I wasn't paying all that much attention. I was cross-stitching while listening to it, so I could have missed some things. And I know that some people tend to really enjoy this movie, so I'm sure that if I sat down and just watched it, I would have gotten more out of it. But because I was more interested in my cross-stitch and it just happened to be a thing that was playing in the room that I was cross-stitching in, I probably missed a few things that made it excellent. The next 2 are movies I have definitely seen before, the first one being Shaun of the Dead. This is a classic zombie movie, except for we don't use the Z word. It's said a few times throughout the script, but they make a point of not calling them that, which is very funny to me. Many things about this movie are very funny to me. I actually saw it in theater in 2004, and I've loved it ever since. It is very cleverly written. There's many callbacks to things within it, and then also apparently a lot of callbacks to movies I haven't even seen. And then learning that at one point made me even more impressed with the script. The third movie we watched was another Simon Pegg movie, and that's Run, Fat Boy, Run. Other than the title, I enjoy this film. Our main character, Dennis, is played by Simon Pegg, and he actually leaves his pregnant fiancée at the altar, and then we are 5 years later, and he hasn't picked up his life at all. He still sees his kid, he still sees his ex. His ex is getting close to somebody else, played by Hank Azaria. aka Moe from The Simpsons. I love Hank Azaria, it's great whenever he shows up in anything. And he decides that he's going to prove that he can get his life together and he can actually finish something by deciding that he is going to be in a marathon in like 3 weeks. He's not a runner. That's a problem. This is definitely one of those movies where so many things don't make sense in real life, but it is a very heartwarming movie because of this character finally coming around and finally being ready to be an adult and all of those types of things, and his relationship with his son is just adorable. On to the books I listened to this week, the first one being This Rebel Heart. This one is set in Hungary post-World War II during communism and has a little bit of magic to it. There are 3 kind of point of view characters to this, and our main one is a Jewish girl living in Hungary and wanting to leave, but that's more easily said than done, so her and her aunt have a plan, but they have a few weeks to wait until they can actually enact that plan. We also get the perspective of her deceased father's journals, and we also learn a lot of things from those journals. And then the third perspective is a literal angel of death, somebody the first character actually met before in a different form. This book is beautifully written and plays heavily with metaphor and themes to the point where I was like, I might not be smart enough to get everything this book is trying to say, but I feel like I did a decent job at grasping most of it. For example, when the characters talk about colors, they look at different colors and know that that color is supposed to be blue or red, but they don't see it as that color until a revolution starts and they suddenly see a little bit of color for the first time. Like I said, it was beautifully written, and this is a point of history that I didn't know much about, so it was very intriguing to visit in a historical fiction context. The other book I listened to was also historical fiction, and that was Bringing Down the Duke. This one takes place in the UK in the late 1800s, and it's about the suffragette movement. Our main character is a woman who is on the shelf. She's 25, she lives with a cousin, she basically works for him all the time for free, and she has been accepted to Oxford because Oxford is finally taking female students. Her cousin, however, doesn't want to let her go, so she literally has to pay him enough to pay a maid so she can go to school. That's a little bit of a problem because although she has a stipend from somebody to attend Oxford, it doesn't really stretch that far, so she also has to pick up some tutoring gigs, and basically her life as a student is very hectic because not only is she doing all her academics, not only is she tutoring so she can actually even be there, but one of the reasons that she gets the stipend is she has to obviously be in the suffragette movement, go to all the meetings, and do all these different things she's assigned to do to further the movement. On her very first day of trying to give out pamphlets that have to do with reversing a law where basically when women marry men, all of their property transfers to them, she tries to give one of these pamphlets to the Duke. And everybody thinks she's super ballsy, but really she just didn't know who he was. He, however, is our other point of view character, and he has a lot on his plate. He's trying to run an estate. His father before him gambled away their family castle, so he's trying to get that back. He has to talk to the Queen a bunch, and she doesn't care about the suffragette movement. She thinks women are ridiculous creatures, which is just such a weirdly privileged way to look at it. Anyway, the Queen has decided that she will help him get his castle back for a fair price if he runs the campaign for the Tory party and they win. Our first protagonist, Annabelle, is obviously more on the side of the Liberal Party, so her meeting with the Duke and trying to convince him over to their side doesn't really help him get his castle back. I thought this was excellent. I saw most of the characters as fairly complex. Even the side characters had their own things going on, which I really enjoyed, and it was fascinating to see what life at this time was like because it is incredibly frustrating looking at it from now. This also really delved into the social hierarchy and that structure and what that looked like and the only options people were given when they were completely different ranks. It was interesting, and I've already put a hold on the next book in this companion series. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!